Man, we are all addicted to sugar. Well, at least most of us, and we don't even know it. We try to get away from it and it just stays with us. So I've had several conversations over the years, and one most recently with Hannah from the gym, and we just got into sugar and what it can do to you and what it looks like to get away from it. And so I thought, let's do a sugar talk. So the idea is I'm going to walk through how to get off of sugar in this. So I won't go too deep into the bad stuff or the addiction or whatever. It's strategies to get off sugar. So you've convinced yourself it's time to get off sugar. And this is going to be a how I did it and how Hannah's doing it and how you could do it. Everybody's different. So it's maybe not going to be the same plan or the same exact thing for you, but I think the struggles are still there. I need to be satiated with just that sweetness, right? How do I get over that? And it's in everything. So how do I get over that? So we're going to walk through those things. I will cover some of the whys and there were some laws and what they're doing and all that, but that's not really the point. It's sugar's there, period. That's it. And we're just going to move on and get to the good stuff real quick. And then I'll cover some of the other stuff as we go. But, so here is the quick of my story. I had a bet that we could not eat sugar for a year. And that bet went well for me, not the other person. I ended up going for a year and a half of not eating sugar and then looking at labels and figuring out what was sugar and then dialing in, is it just sugar or all sweeteners or whatever it is, right? So for me, this is get off of sweetener altogether and make your tongue different. I am, if you're the type of person that's going to say, hey, I'm going to get off of sugar, but I'm going to use one of the other types of sugar, then this really isn't for you. Just use the other type and know that you're kind of doing something okay. But if it were me, I would rather eat honey first, then regular old raw sugar, and then maybe some sort of chemical. But I just don't do the chemicals that much. That's me. You can be whoever you are and do what you want. But this is for people who are like, you know what? I want to get rid of sweet. Is there another way to do life and get off of sweet? So the answer is yes. So after that first year and a half, I thought, what am I doing? I just said I can't do it because of a bet. And then I went back on the wagon and it got really nasty for me. So I would go to Chick-fil-A and get a chocolate milkshake, and then they would give you a half dozen warmed up cookies, and they didn't care who was in the car. So yeah, I was like, and in every meal if I was out, I would get the darkest beer they had, and I was eating a lot of carbs and sugar. Then I took my kids, Levi and Evie, when they were younger, so I guess 8-ish, 9 years ago, to the Great Wolf Lodge in LaGrange, I think it was LaGrange. And we're sitting in there, I'm doing, in quotes, food court, and the food there was after the first day and maybe the second day, it was just so unappealing that I thought, I'm just going to starve myself until I get back home, and I'm not eating sugar ever again. I'm just disgusted by this. And I knew I wasn't going to eat bread as well, because for me, bread is the delivery vehicle for all things sugar. So I have got to cut out bread. Otherwise, I know it converts to sugar, carbs and all that, but there's too many memories of eating pancakes, of French toast, of cookies or whatever. So I can't do some without the other. I couldn't. That wasn't me. So I just said, whatever, I'm done with both of them. So it's been about 8 or 9 years. And what is today? Today is March 22nd, 2023, since I have eaten bread or sugar intentionally. Anyway, so here's a picture of a bunch of sugars. And I'm going to walk you through kind of my story and what I've done and how it went. But I just thought, sugar pictures, if you're watching this in a video, won't be as graphically appealing. This is probably, audio is just as good, but I do have some pictures and some other stuff that'll be up here for you. So the weird thing about sugar is then you start thinking about, as you're reading these labels, like they hide sugar everywhere. So if you're going down, this is assuming you're going down the path of, I want to get off of sweetener altogether. My family does not follow this. They all are into, sugar and whatever else we do. I would prefer them to eat regular old sugar versus any of these other names you hear, but I'm not going to read them all off. I will paste them into the show notes. But things that we know, I'm not even sure I can pronounce all these, being dyslexic, and they're just hard to say. So dextrose, fructose, galactose, glucose, lactose, maltose, sucrose, and then there's a bunch more beet sugar, brown sugar, cane sugar, castor sugar, coconut sugar. So let me actually make a little change there. So I do eat fruit, but I have found over time that my tongue has become so desensitized to sugar that I can't really eat fruit. So I'm okay if I'm eating an almond and an almond has sugar in it naturally, whatever. Not a big deal. It doesn't taste like sugar. It tastes like an almond, right? I can't eat watermelon because it is just so sweet. It's disgusting. When I make my smoothie in the morning, actually, let me pull that up real quick. Let me hit pause here. Okay, so I grabbed some videos off of my YouTube page, and I'll link them in the show notes for the podcast. But oops, I think they're playing. So
okay,
one of them is super old. When we got our first Vitamix, when did I post this? 11 years ago. So we've been using the Vitamix for more than 11 years. I would recommend a Vitamix. I don't sell them or anything. I just think they're awesome. And so I will use a quarter of a banana. About this, I guess a quarter is relative, right? Isn't it? I'll use about a thumb length of banana in my smoothie, and this is what I usually put in my smoothie right here. So there's butter, it's Kerrygold butter. There's cacao, raw cacao, so it's not sweetened.
So Andy Lott,
a handful of spinach.
So
the banana you can barely see, peanut butter and some almond milk. I put it in the Vitamix. And
your phone,
just blend the whole thing up. I've just recently started adding some dry coconut
reduces decision fatigue,
nibs or whatever. So that's what I eat every day. And one thing I have found is getting rid of the decisions or removing decision fatigue is super helpful. So decision fatigue, even when it comes to snacks, and let me see if I can find it real quick. Justin's peanut butter. Whoops. So, Justice League. So these guys right here, these little peanut butter packs saved me. So I've got the classic type. So it's peanut butter and almond butter. I don't get them with any flavor, obviously, because they put sugar in it if you do. But I have these all the time around me. I also, at Costco's, you can get, I think it's called like Archer beef sticks. And I use those a lot because, that's it right there. Because they don't have sugar in them. Well, I need to go back and read the label. I'm pretty sure they don't. That's always funny when you go back and you reread it and you're like, look at sugar right there. So I'm looking at this, the label, and of course it's supposed to be grass-fed beef and organic-ish or something, but who really knows, right? They can just put whatever on the label, and as long as it has like it's finished grass, then that's good. So I just read right back through it, and it doesn't look like there's any sugar. So Hannah did bring up a point, and I'll maybe do this later on, but why can it say 0 sugar grams on the fact sheet, the nutrition fact panel, but in the ingredients, it clearly lists sugar or a type of sugar. So we'll talk about that too. Super annoying, but that's planning ahead. So I became super smart about what and when I would eat. A lot of meal prep, a lot of knowing. I mean, it's basically, if you think of, I'm going to eat a hamburger without a bun, that's what I ate with mustard on it, right? I do use mayonnaise, but I'm not a big soy person, so I kind of tend away from that. If I can find mayonnaise without soy, then yay. But mustard is great because it just really has like 4 things in it, and it doesn't have sugar or soy. So, all right, let me get back on track here. So about 8 years of me now not doing sugar or bread. Is it hard? The answer would be no, not really anymore. Was it hard at the beginning? Yes. So for me, it was just cold turkey, get it over with, get it done. And it takes about maybe 3 months for the urges to go away. Every once in a while, I get an urge to eat something I need something to satiate something. I don't know what it is, but it's in my head. And so what I do now is I'll take a large helping of Kerrygold butter, warm it up a little bit in the microwave, and then throw some, I like the organic peanut butter, creamy organic Publix peanut butter. I'll throw a couple spoonfuls in there and mix it together and eat that. And so yes, my fat count is out of this world, but because I don't eat bread or sugar, it doesn't really matter. I can eat a whole lot more, and I was losing weight. So I went from, let's see, back at Georgia Tech, we would make sweet tea by using the Hobart hose with the crazy hot water, squirt it into the Gatorade Igloo thing, and fill it up with hot water, super hot water. Pour in as much sugar as we could, stir it, pour in some more until we saw it falling to the bottom, so basically super saturating the liquid, and then we'd throw in the tea bags and let it sit there until, lunch or dinner or whatever. And that's the type of sweet tea we would drink. I decided one day at Tech that I'm done with sweet tea. So I think the biggest thing I could tell all of you guys, if you think I want to get rid of sugar somewhat, stop drinking sugar. If you could not drink sugar or drink sweet, so Coke Zeros, anything that's going to give you that sweetness on your tongue, it's just going to hurt this whole process. So just stop drinking sugar. So I stopped drinking sugar back in college. I lost 10 pounds in a week. And then I think Hannah said she stopped eating sugar, drinking sugar, and she already lost 5 pounds, and it didn't take that long. So we store sugar, and one easy way to lose weight is to stop eating sugar. But I know it's hard. We're addicted to it. Anyway, yeah. So me and tangents, they are, it's my old friend, right? My old nemesis. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of these. They do say that sugar and cocaine stimulate, or heroin, stimulate the same areas of the brain, gives you the same dopamine response. So if you look that up, you're going to see that, yes, in fact, sugar is pretty addictive. So yay. Why they put, so it was in like the 60s or 70s, they had this big congressional meeting, and it's like, hey, we need to take fat out of foods because fat makes you fat, which fat does not make you fat. I eat a lot of fat and I am not fat. So it's what we do, with the other food groups, especially sugar, that makes you fat, or just over consuming, of course. So they said, yes, let's take out, I'm simplifying it, but yeah, let's take out the fat, and food tastes gross. Let's put something in there that makes it taste better. How about sugar? So I don't know. You could go down the tinfoil hat area of it's a conspiracy. They wanted to control us with a drug. And yeah, I don't know. They just put sugar and stuff and whatever. Because you could just simply choose not to eat sugar and then they can't control you. So I don't know if it's a control thing. But I do know they put it in there. So most foods got sugar and they got their fat taken out, which is crazy. And so now I go the complete opposite way. So sugar will stimulate your brain. You can read there, is it addictive? Yes, everyone talks about it. If you don't believe it's addictive, then just stop eating it and see what happens. You will find that you have a craving of a highly disproportionate craving for it. Thus, I would categorize that as addictive, right? So there are different, okay, so what do you do? I said I would get into exactly what do you do. It's basically spoiling that sweet on your tongue. So every time I had a sweet desire, I would eat something else. So you have a lot of different taste buds or areas on your tongue, and there's a whole bunch of other foods out there. So Hannah, one thing she said I thought was pretty funny is she's like, food is so bland if you don't have sugar in it. Well, yes, but that's because it's only one thing, and we're so overwhelmingly used to it that we think everything must have like a sweet tinge to it, and it doesn't have to, right? So you can, let me see if I can find this right. Okay, so one area on the tongue is salt. So you can add a salty food, right? So I don't eat a lot of processed food, so I always tell people eat around the edges of the grocery store, so it's more fresh stuff, so it's less processed, less salt. So when I put salt on stuff, I really taste it, so I don't have to use that much salt. And I probably should use more because I do a lot of CrossFit and I'm sweating a bunch, so this probably would be smarter if I did have probably some more salt. But salt is an option, right? There is sour, so anything on that sour spectrum, and it doesn't have to be like sour cream. I mean, there is tons of foods that have a sour aspect to it, and of course, I obviously don't eat like Sour Patch Kids because that obviously has sweet and sour and sugar, right? That's a deadly combination. But so we got salt, we got sour. There's bitter. So of course, first thing that comes to my mind is beer, but that was my favorite beer. Anything bitter. You can, they have, I don't even know what this one is, so I'm going to read it to you. It's umami. And let me see if I can actually pull this out real quick. Hold on. All right. So it reads, some of the reading is fermented or broths. So I don't even know what that is, but they say umami. And one of the pictures is some sort of tea. So maybe it's coffee and tea. I don't know. But just to give you an idea what I would do. So I'd have this, like, I need something. What do I eat? Sweet, right? How do I get rid of this? I would grab a pickle. So I kept, like, you can go to the grocery store and buy a bag of pickles and just eat the pickles when it's time, right? And they don't need to be refrigerated. Well, I don't think they do this anymore, but if you were to like drive a little north of Woodstock, you could pop into any gas station and they would just have a big open thing of pig's feet or snouts or whatever and pickles. And you just reach your hand in there and grab a pickle and take it out. And you're like, I'm going to buy this big pickle right there. It's probably too gross by today's standards, but I remember that as a kid. You just put your hand in, you grab a pickle, you're like, Dad, I'm going to eat this big pickle. And Yeah, so you can just set them out there. They are preserved basically. So you got that dill, and you have the vinegar taste. So pickle is great. I would also do olives. So there are many types of olives, and if you're only going for the olives that you pull out of a can or that are on the preserved shelf, then you're missing out. You can go to like a Whole Foods, you go to an olive bar, or there's the Publix over by us has an olive bar, and you can get a lot of great stuff. And the olives are seasoned and taste different. Obviously, avoid the sweet ones. So olives are a great choice. I would add mayonnaise. I would add hot sauce. So hot sauce is a great way to get around it, or taco seasoning, right? So any of these seasonings that or tastes that aren't sweet, so they're all over the place. Just go to your grocery store, go to the seasoning rack, and just look through and see all of the seasonings that are not sugar. And you can explore any of those tastes. So one that I really hate, it is super disgusting, is the fennel, which they usually put in licorice or black licorice. And that's just disgusting to me. So fennel is an area that some people go down, but I can't. It's like, that's just murderous. So anyway, so you can look at like a food pyramid or a food. I don't really like the government food pyramids, but you can look at food groups and see, hey, what's in there? Obviously, fresh stuff. Weirdly, it should taste like it itself. So if you eat a bell pepper and you're like, it doesn't have that much taste, that's because your tongue is overloaded with sweet. Give it some time. Weirdly, a bell pepper tastes like a bell pepper. If you go around the edges and you eat, you can taste the difference, not just texture-wise, but beef and lamb, or beef and I don't eat pork, but beef and pork, right? You could do hot dogs. You could have hamburgers. That was actually a big saver for me. I would grill some food and I would just have it there waiting for me. So I do eat sweet potatoes. I don't eat potatoes because potatoes it spikes your insulin a bit more. So, and I just don't really like potatoes, so it's kind of helpful. I also don't do most dairy, like straight dairy, because it just messes up my stomach pretty good. But I do eat a lot of cheese, which is dairy. I mean, I don't do milk, so I'll usually eat or drink almond milk, which I don't know how you get milk out of an almond specifically, but that's what I drink. Okay, so this is a page that I Googled. I actually like this. Brave. I use I don't use Chrome or Safari. I use Brave, and it's supposed to be a bit more private. I don't know if it really is, but I do like right now they're kind of doing the Chat GPT. They stick a summary of your answer right at the top, and that's pretty cool. And then they give you, of course, the websites you can go to. So this is just a link on eating at the edges of the grocery store and why you'd want to do it. Basically, it's fresh. So that is a whole different conversation. So at the gym last night after coaching, we got into talking about sugar, and someone said, what about GMO? What about soy? What about, I'm like, yeah, so you can go down the rabbit hole. I went down the rabbit hole because I was eating so many eggs. I'm like, I want a fresher, better egg. Now I have chickens in my backyard. I am that guy. And it's been, I don't know, we've been doing that for I feel like it's 5 years, which means it's probably 7 or 8. Let's see. Well, it has to be more than 5 because Olivia did her college essay on being a duck farmer and she's a sophomore. So that was 6 years ago. And we've had them before that. So yeah, so it was probably 8 or 9 years that we've had chickens and ducks. And I hate raising ducks. So don't do that one. Chickens are way better. Anyway, finding things that will punch your tongue out of the sweet, I think, is a great crutch. So typically people's crutches are, cigarettes and alcohol. Don't use those. Instead, use something else that tastes different and will punch your tongue out of sweet. And every time you're like, I need something sweet, eat that pickle. So your mind starts to disassociate those things. Now it's really tough if you do like, hey, I sit down, like when I was a kid, I don't think they do this anymore, but it was Thursday night TV was the big TV shows. And so I would sit down and with a bowl of ice cream or two, and I would watch, what was the order of it? It was something like, maybe it was Star Trek, The Next Generation, and then the Cosbys, and then something else. I don't remember anymore, but I would watch those. And I think they were like only 30 minutes long. So, and most of it was commercials. Yeah. The TV back then was totally different, but, so what I'm trying to get to is if you have a habitual time that you're eating sweet, then that's gonna be a tough one to get out of. If you drink coffee and I put the sweet in there, coffee is not bad. Well, I mean, there's an argument for coffee being bad. Caffeine is a drug too, but, you don't have to do all that stuff. You could instead do like bulletproof coffee. So put a swab of Kerrygold butter in there, blend it up pretty good, and it actually tastes pretty decent. I'll do that before I go to Evie's soccer game in a little bit. Anyway, it's coming up with tools, tips, and tactics to get through this. Now, okay, actually, I wasn't planning on saying this, but here we go. You can find all of this information on the internet. It is there. If you need just a little bit of help, guidance, give me a text, give me a call. My email is easy. It's andy@crossfitgarage.com. So weird, the name of the business and my first name, right? So Andy is, of course, the normal spelling. And I am Andy because I couldn't spell Andrew when I was a kindergartner. So here we are. But or most all of you guys have my phone number. Just text me. I'm not great on text. If I read it and I don't respond, then it goes away and I forget to go back to it. If you email me, I will totally be able to type you up something, or call me. I'm usually pretty good about answering the phone. But if you need help, I'm happy to guide you, give you some insight. If you want like specific guide me through this, yeah, I guess we can do that. I usually don't hire myself out to do coaching because I'm doing so many other things, but I would be willing, if somebody really wanted to jump down this rabbit hole, yeah, I would be your coach. So that kind of brings up another point, which is accountability. If you want to do this, become accountable with somebody or become a teacher. That's the easiest way to get these things done is kind of put your name on the line, right? But anyway, I am happy to help for sure. So let's keep going through this thing. So non-sweet snacks, you can Google it, or I'm not Googling it, I'm braving it, but you can go look it up and find snacks that aren't sweet. Now, I find it funny that there is a company that their primary focus is dialysis businesses. So they have those, like next to our gym, they have dialysis shops or whatever. Yet they produce recipes where they actually say in the recipe, put sugar in it. And you're like, what are you doing? People on dialysis do not need sugar unless you want them to be coming back, right? I don't know. It's weird. So you can look that stuff up too, but find snacks. And if you're like, what is a snack that doesn't have sugar in it? Well, if you left it out, it would spoil, then it's probably something you can eat. So, any of the meats, cheeses, fruits, vegetables. And if you're thinking, I don't like any of that stuff, then whatever, just eat your sugar because you're going to die anyway. So you'll just die of sugar poisoning rather than something else, right? So in the immortal words of Nick Lubbers, which then I then edited a teeny bit, but I just want to be harder to kill. Yeah. So I edited it with, and I want to be easier to love. Which I'm prickly, so it's really tough for that. But yeah, so become harder to kill. How do you become harder to kill? Everyone's going to die of something. So how about eliminate the things that, are the most deadly? So for like teenagers, weirdly, the top 10 ways for teenagers to die can be boiled down to stupidity. So, hey, don't do stupid stuff. And I think the first 4 have to do with driving. So basically, don't do stupid stuff while driving, text, eat, whatever, don't be distracted. So it's usually that, and then it's kinetic impact. So they do something like jump off a thing or playing with a punchy toy, not a toy, like a gun or something. So they do something just incredibly stupid. So the kinetic impact gets them, but don't do stupid stuff. Same thing as an adult. If you don't want to die from the most, the 10 most common things, it almost all has to do with getting your health and fitness under wraps. And probably the leading indicator of that is stress. After that is your nutrition. The one thing I could tell people is if it has a drive-through, don't eat there and avoid sugar. First, don't drink sugar. Second, don't eat sugar. That'd be my advice, right? And then next would be to sweat in some way almost every day. Right. So that's Greg Glassman has a great quote on, what is fitness? And maybe I should pull that up and read it to you because I don't think I've done that in a long time and it's really good. Yeah, this is pretty good. So I'm going to read this off for you guys because you need to hear it. So he titled it World-Class Fitness in 100 Words. I think they've boiled it down even more to make it more streamlined, but it begins with your nutrition. So eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. Keep intake to levels that will support exercise, but not body fat. And that's a key one right there. Most of us just go over the top like, I better keep eating, right? Okay, next part. Practice and train the major lifts, deadlift, clean, squat, press, clean and jerk, snatch. Similarly, master the basics of gymnastics. Pull up, dip, rope climb, push up, sit-ups, presses, handstands, pirouettes, flips, splits, holds. We're actually going to be doing some of that in April and May. So, and then bike, run, swim, row, etc. Hard and fast. 5 or 6 days per week. Mix these elements in as many combinations and patterns as creativity will allow. Routine is the enemy. Keep workouts short and intense. Then lastly, I love this. He sums it up with the culmination of all this is regularly learn and play new sports. Anyway, so that beginning of what to eat, that's it right there. Eat meat, vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruits, little starch, no sugar. Right. That's it. There's your pyramid. But anyway, okay, let me get back on track. I had mentioned this earlier, but another way to kind of help yourself in any goal, and this one is no outlier, it's true, is changing it from I can't eat sugar to I don't eat sugar. So it's something like, I'm going to butcher the statistics, but if you were to look it up, I forgot what book it was in. I listened to a lot of books, and it said something to the effect of, if you write down your goals, you are 30% likely to achieve your goals. If you state it in words with can't, if you simply change can't to don't, you move to 60% likely, which is an 100% increase, right? So you're 100% more likely to achieve your goals if you simply use the word don't rather than can't. Of course, writing down your goals and then looking at them every day increases it even more dramatically. So change that simple word right there. I think I did a whole, maybe I didn't put the podcast out there yet, but I've got something that I'll go find it and put it in there soon using can't versus don't. I might have already done it. So the other one is accountability. Find somebody, talk to somebody, ask them, or put it out on Facebook. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. Everyone hold me accountable. I think on more than the accountability is to find your why. Why are you doing it? What do you care? So Hannah's developing a great why. It took me 10 years of CrossFit and health and fitness to really come up with my why, which is I want to be healthy and fit enough to coach my kids in soccer. So yeah, I know what that looks like. How about this? I know what it doesn't look like. Everybody knows what it doesn't look like. I can't kick a soccer ball. I can't move. I can't run. I can't get up off the ground. I can't, I'm sweating in the summer heat of Georgia. There's a lot of things that it involves I can't. So, something I couldn't do. So in my mind's eye, it's what I look like right now. I told someone the other day, I am actually pretty dang happy. I say I'm 49. I've been saying for a while I'm 50, but I am much more secure, stable, even keel, and happy with my development and progress at 50 than I was at 25. I would never want to go back to 25, even with that youth. I think I'm still hitting PRs at the gym, so I'm actually fitter than I was back then as well. And I sort of did track and field at Georgia Tech, sort of. So that's another joke. But anyway, I was the best pole vaulter they had. I was the only pole vaulter they had. It was a dumb sport for me. I found out the opening height for college meets was higher than the highest jump I'd ever done in my life. So it was a short career of lots of training, and then, oh dang, I think I'm going to go back to be an electrical engineer. Bye. Okay, so find accountability. Another great way for accountability is to teach somebody else. Let me just keep plugging through these, help you guys get through these with me. So teach somebody. When the student becomes a master, you actually learn a lot more about yourself anyway. So you can also look up the negative effects of sugar. One thing that I've heard, I don't know if this is entirely true, but they say that cancer feeds on sugar. Maybe not necessarily cane sugar, but the sugars in your body or whatever. But if I'm not eating sugar, then, I'm producing it naturally, but it is not the same thing, right? So will I be better off? I don't know. 15 years ago, when we started the gym, 2008, me and the other three owners did not know what our bodies would look like with all this repetitive motion on our joints. Yet, here I am 15 years later, and I'm doing quite well. The other guys are not doing CrossFit, so maybe it's 1 out of 4 is it worked for, or I don't know. They're not actually. Shane's kind of doing CrossFit still, so he's moving. I don't know, but some of them came in banged up before, but I'm still doing it, and I'm totally fine. Those guys are not doing CrossFit, and right. So, is it a function of did they have injuries before? Which actually they did have injuries before. So that's not a great example at all. I can't delete that since I've already said it. But I guess the main point that I was trying to get to is I've been doing this for 15 years, and I'm still alive, and I'm still moving, and everything works. So keep doing it. What does it look like if you don't eat sugar? I don't know. I haven't eaten it for 8 years. So I do know this. The confirmation bias, which is basically the things around you tend to confirm your bias for, say, a doctor. So you go ask just go to like a general practitioner and you say, hey, are people sick? They're going to be like, yeah, because they see sick people every day. So the bias that they of the worldview around them confirms their own suspicions, right? So confirmation bias. I don't exist to them. A person who does not go to the doctor ever well, how would they know I'm alive? They're like, I don't know. They'd have to compare everybody's social security numbers or something. But I don't go to the doctor. The last medical checkup I went to was Yancey doing my blood work. And she's like, yeah, do this blood work. I know what you eat. I'm curious. And turns out it was super boring. It was great blood work. Nothing surprising. I had low testosterone, lower, still in the range, but on the lower side. But if you have seen me, you wouldn't be surprised by that. That's probably just naturally occurring. Anyway, so sugar has a lot of negative health effects, as well as on your teeth, right? So yeah, just get off of sugar. So there's some positive things that happen to you when you get off sugar. You can go look those up. I hesitate to say Google it because I'm using Brave, so you can go Brave it. So, okay, this is a good one. So, I love it. Hannah's got great questions and she's fresh into this. So she's seeing things that just haven't really occurred to me in a long time. So she's checking labels as she eats things. And she's like, dang it, even my mustard has sugar in it. I'm like, I know. Why do they put sugar in mustard? So you got to get like just regular old Heinz mustard, right? So she's looking at a label and it says, let's see if I can pull that back up on the, I think it was the Archer's, beef sticks. Yeah, here we go. It's not a great picture, but it's the nutrition facts. And it says total carbohydrates, dietary fiber, 0 grams, sugars, 0 grams. And she's like, but then I go and read the ingredient list and like the 9th ingredient is sugar. I'm like, yep, that's the tricks they play. So you need to actually read the ingredient list if you really want to get out of sugar. So here's my thought on it. I don't have cheat days. Cheat days don't work when it comes to resetting your tongue for sugar. Once you start doing heroin again, then you're doing heroin again. Once you start doing sugar again, it's like, heck yeah. I mean, you have to fight that craving. And I just don't want to fight the craving. So I guess you could say, yes, I'm strong. I haven't had sugar in 8 years. Or you could say I am weak because I can't take the fight over and over and over, which I think that's really where I am. I'm in my weakness. I can't do the fight over and over and over. So it looks like strength to you. To me, it feels like weakness because I know I would lose. So I'm just err on the side of what's the easiest outcome. Just avoid it, which I know is tough. Okay, so where was I? Positive, okay, so the labels, yes, you got to read the labels. If I could leave you with anything, it would be don't drink sugar. So stop consuming with the liquidy side of sugar. So if you looked at how much sugar is in a can of Coke. Well, actually, there's no sugar in a can of Coke. They use something else. You have to go to Mexico and buy a can of Coke because they use real sugar in Mexico. But it is a ton. And if you try to spoon that much sugar into your mouth, you would just be disgusted and sick. But you could drink it. So don't or stop consuming sugar through liquids. I don't drink sugar, right? The next would be obviously don't eat sugar and to move around that. I know then your drinks are like, well, what's left to drink? Weird. There are a lot of things that do not contain sugar. Just 2 off the top of my head are all of the odd milks that they've got. So that's like 19 different milks. Just get the unsweetened, unflavored or whatever. Or milk itself. That's weird, right? Milk. And water, which, yeah, I mean, if I could tell everyone drink water, I would. But I would rather you drink straight coffee than any of that other stuff. Coffee that's been, watered down. So yeah, not the coffee beans, but actually you could eat those too. That have a different type of pick me up. Okay. I'm going to go through some of the stuff that Hannah had talked about because she had some interesting commentary. Bear with me while I try to read some of this. Trying to read and look at monitors while I do this, my dyslexia has no bounds and it catches up to me. So I asked her, give me some things that you're interested in. Tell me something. So she said, the main thing I realize is how much of a negative impact sugar actually has on my body. She gave up sugar for Lent. And so I think it's like 20 days right now. Anyway, she said, my energy level has increased tremendously and I'm less bloated and have lost 5 or more pounds in just the month of cutting out processed sugar. So that's incredible. I found the exact same thing. Let's see, I truly felt like I had a sugar addiction because I couldn't go more than 2 days without something sweet or chocolate. Now that's so let me back up on that one. We dissected this one a bit. Chocolate is not sweet. I use that cacao powder. Let me pull that video back up. Boom. Let's see. Can you see it? Nope. Let me back it up. Where is it? There it is, right there. Cacao. So this is from Trader Joe's, organic, fair trade, cacao powder. I do use that. and I use a lot of it. It's a heaping, almost ×2 heaping spoonful of cacao powder. It doesn't have sugar. It tastes like crap. It does not taste like chocolate the way you're used to it. It's like when someone gives you like baking sugar and you meant to grab the super sweet chocolate chips. You grab the wrong ones. You're like, what is this junk that you've poisoned me with? Is it iocane powder? Anyway, so chocolate isn't sweet. Chocolate out of a package, on the in the stand, right? The name Milky Way or whatever, that's sweet. But anyway, okay. So she had a question on how do you control the cravings? I think it's an addiction. So you got to like punch. And for me, I just punched it in the face with eating something totally different. I really want something sweet. Bam, here's a pickle. And your tongue starts to disassociate those flavors. She said, how can I make this a lifestyle change rather than just 40 days? And that is the big question. I think don't. And accountability and having options and having a friend along for the journey. I will be anybody's friend. You know me. I am super lonely and I lack friends. So that's not true, but I'll be your friend. So she said, the other question is recipes. Yeah, you can just go and look that up on the internet. They're all over the place. I don't actually, so Levi says I don't cook. And every time he says that, he knows that the next night he's cooking. So he has learned not to say, Dad, you don't cook. I'm like, heck yeah, I cook. But my cooking is very non-recipe intensive. So I don't use recipes. It usually involves ground beef, taco seasoning, spaghetti sauce, or a pack of white gravy or brown gravy or whatever, which I don't usually eat the gravy because it's got yeast in it or flour in it. But anyway, so I don't use recipes very much. And, well, when I say very much, I mean at all. So I'm that guy who says, you just make it and you do like a heaping spoonful of cacao powder. You're like, how much is heaping? It's about that much. And I don't know what it is. Just do it until you're like, that's disgusting or that's not disgusting, right? So recipes are good. I think planning ahead is good. So you're going to fall into traps. I mean, I would journal this stuff. Write down 8:30 every night. I'm like, dang it, I really need something. Okay, so what can I do? Well, an easy one would be wake up at 4 a.m., stay awake as long as possible, and then go to bed at 8 o'clock. And you won't see the 8:30 spike. That's just an option. You could do something totally different. You could be like, it's 8:30, I'm going to put the pickle in my mouth now, or the salad. I mean, you got to watch out for salad dressings. I don't like salad dressing, so that was easy for me. But it's weird. Some of my tendencies are healthy. Of course, some of my tendencies are not. Like I tend now, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I don't eat sugar, my brain's in a fog. I tend to say the wrong things, unintentionally. So Hannah knows that for sure. She and I go back and forth and laugh about my mistakes. It's not intentional. I'm just an idiot most of the time, and I try not to be. But, anyway, okay. So, punch it in the face, put something else, that is different on your palate, expand it, pickles, hummus, hot sauce, mustard, garlic, all that stuff. Okay, so she said that also I'm eating a lot of almond butter. So you got to watch out for this. If you're not cutting out breads, this may be bad. So too much fats with breads could add up. If you cut out sugar, I think it helps. So usually it's, calories in, calories out. Watch the calories burn more than you eat. Weirdly, when you stop eating sugar and bread, it changes the ratios a bit. I eat a lot, and people who go out with me, they're like, dang, you just ate all that fat off the steak and you had like 8 steaks. That's so weird. And yeah, I do. And I'm still a smallish guy. Of course, that's kind of my thing as being small, but, or as Hannah put it, little. And so I do also eat a lot of butter, peanut butter, almond butter, regular old butter, and it doesn't have an ill effect, but it's because I'm taking out the bread and sugar. So you do have to watch that. I would journal, write things down, maybe use MyFitnessPal, right? Or just journal and show it to somebody else and be honest with yourself, right? Okay, so let me think and see right here. Okay, so I think the last question I'm going to end with is how come I can lose weight while eating more fats than I ever have and not eating sugar? Shouldn't fat make me fat? And the answer is no. Weirdly, our experimental data says that what they tell us is wrong. If you combine fats, breads, and sugars, then yeah, fat will help you with everything else, make you fat. But I eat a lot of fat, and that is really what I've replaced that satiation, that thing that I need. I do the Kerrygold butter inside of the Publix creamy butter and make a little mixture and just spoon that in my mouth, and I'm good. 8 years into it, I don't have like a tremendous struggle anymore. And I will say that I don't emit food guilt. I don't care what people eat. This is for me. But I do know that some people feel like there's a shaming of, well, I'm going to eat dessert and you're not eating dessert, Andy. I'm like, well, I don't eat dessert. I'm okay with that. And so I don't care what people eat. But, and I think if they knew that it wasn't specifically easy, I mean, anything really is easy in the idea. Hey, just don't eat sugar. Easy idea. But the practice isn't easy. And I think I did something on this before. You need to choose your hard. Being obese is hard. Being fit is hard. Being poor is hard. Being rich is hard. I mean, which hard do you want to be? I'd rather do the hard thing that's actually better for me. If you need help and you'd like to get off of sugar, if there's a ton of you, maybe I'll come up with some sort of like group chat, group talk. If it's a couple of you, then yeah, we'll get on the phone and talk through it. And it's just, understanding who you are and what you're doing, coming up with routines, planning, punching that sweet in the face when it's time. And I guess having that mindset that I don't eat sugar. All right, guys, I hope you find this helpful. I hope you walk down the path of getting off of sugar someday, even if it's just a test, like, hey, I don't eat sugar for the next 40 days. Great. Let's see what happens. Talk to somebody else, teach somebody else, write down your stuff. Actually, you know what I would love for you guys to do is try this in the next week or two. And Hannah and I plan to have a conversation, and we're going to go through some of her questions, and I'd love to answer your questions. So if you got some, email them to me, or if you're watching this on YouTube, post it in the comments. I don't know, and I'll find it, and I'll answer your questions about this. So try it. Ask some questions, and let's see where we can go with this. All right, guys, you be good.